It was a bright, sunny Saturday morning. The kind of day where the sky is blue, the birds are chirping, and everything feels happy. In a little house on a quiet street, 12-year-old Timmy Jackson was hanging out in his backyard. He wasn't doing anything special, just sitting on the grass with his goofy little dog, Max. Now, Max wasn't a fancy dog. He was a scruffy mutt with messy fur that stuck out all over the place. His bark? Oh boy, it was loud, louder than a fire truck zooming by with its siren on. But Max was a good dog. He wouldn't hurt a fly, not even if it buzzed right in his face. He just liked to bark at squirrels and wag his tail like crazy. Timmy, though. He was the quiet kid. You know the type, the one who doesn't talk much and just blends into the background. He was short, with messy brown hair that always looked like he just rolled out of bed. His sneakers were old and beat up, with holes in the toes and laces that didn't match. The neighbors barely noticed him. If you asked them about Timmy, they'd probably say, "Oh, that kid. He's just there." But today? Today wasn't going to be a normal day. Nope, not even close. Today was going to flip everything upside down, and Timmy was right in the middle of it. See, Timmy wasn't just any kid. He had a secret. A big one. A secret so huge that it would make your eyes pop out if you knew it right away. Nobody in the neighborhood had a clue, not the old man who watered his flowers every morning, not the lady who jogged with her fancy headphones, and especially not nosy HOA Karen. Oh, we'll talk about her in a minute. She's the one who started this whole crazy mess. But first, let's set the scene so you can picture it all in your head. Timmy's backyard wasn't big, but it was his favorite place. There was a patchy lawn with some bald spots where the grass wouldn't grow. A rickety old swing set sat in one corner, creaking even when no one was on it. A tall wooden fence ran all around, keeping the yard tucked away from the street. Max loved that yard. He'd run around in circles, chasing his tail or sniffing at the dirt like he was on a big adventure. That morning, Timmy was tossing a beat-up tennis ball for Max to chase. The little dog would bark every time he caught it, loud, happy barks that echoed through the air. To Timmy, it was just another fun day with his best buddy. The neighborhood was quiet, like it usually was on Saturdays. Kids weren't out playing yet, and most grown-ups were still inside drinking coffee or reading the paper. The sun was climbing higher, making the grass warm under Timmy's sneakers. Everything felt normal. Peaceful, even. But normal doesn't last forever, does it? Nope. Not when you've got a dog like Max and a kid like Timmy, and definitely not when someone like Karen lives 2 houses down. Let's talk about Timmy for a second. He wasn't loud or wild like some kids. He didn't ride his bike super fast down the street or climb trees until he got stuck. He was the kind of kid who liked to watch things. He'd sit on his front steps sometimes, just looking at the world go by. People didn't pay much attention to him, and that was fine by him. He had Max, and that was enough. But here's the thing, Timmy wasn't as simple as everyone thought. Under that messy hair and those old sneakers, he was smart. Really smart. And he had something up his sleeve that nobody saw coming. Now, Max. Max was a character. His fur was a mix of brown and black, all tangled up like he'd never seen a brush. One ear flopped down while the other stuck straight up, giving him a goofy look. His eyes were big and shiny, always sparkling with excitement. When he barked, it wasn't a mean bark. It was a "hey, look at me" kind of bark. Sometimes he'd bark at the wind or a leaf blowing by, just because he could. Timmy loved that about him. Max made every day more fun. So there they were, Timmy and Max, playing in the backyard like it was no big deal. The tennis ball bounced across the grass, and Max darted after it, barking his head off. Timmy laughed, watching his dog tumble over his own paws. It was the kind of moment that felt perfect, like nothing could go wrong. But perfect moments, they don't always stick around. Not when trouble's waiting just a few steps away. The trouble's name was Karen. She wasn't just any neighbor. She was the HOA lady, the one who made rules about everything. Your grass couldn't be too long, your trash cans couldn't be out past Tuesday, and don't even think about painting your mailbox a fun color. Karen had short, spiky hair and a loud voice that carried across the street. She walked around with a clipboard sometimes, writing down things she didn't like. Everyone knew her, and nobody liked her. Well, maybe her cat liked her, but that was it. That morning, Karen was in a mood. Maybe her coffee was cold, or maybe she just woke up grumpy. Whatever it was, she heard Max barking. And to her, that wasn't okay. She didn't care that it was a Saturday, or that Max was just a happy little dog having fun. To Karen, a bark was a problem, and she was going to fix it. She grabbed her phone and marched out of her house, ready to make someone's day miserable. Guess who she picked? Yep, Timmy. But here's where it gets good. Timmy wasn't worried. Not one bit. While Karen was stomping over to his fence, ready to yell, Timmy just kept tossing that ball for Max. He didn't know it yet, but this was the start of something huge. Something that would turn the whole neighborhood upside down. Why wasn't Timmy scared? What was his secret? Oh, you're going to love this. But we're not there yet. First, we've got to see how this mess kicked off. Picture it, the sun shining, Max barking, Timmy smiling. A totally normal day. Then, out of nowhere, Karen's voice cuts through the air like a whistle. Hey, you. That dog's too loud, she shouts, waving her phone like it's a weapon. Timmy looks up, squinting at her through the fence. He doesn't say much, just shrugs. But Karen? She's not letting it go. She's about to do something that'll start a chain of crazy events. And Timmy's secret? It's waiting, ready to jump out when she least expects it. Here comes Karen. Oh boy, she's trouble with a capital T. If you don't know what I mean, let me paint the picture for you. Karen was the kind of person who stuck her nose in everyone's business. She was loud, bossy, and always complaining about something. She lived just 2 houses down from Timmy, in a little yellow house with perfect flowers and a sign that said "Home Sweet Home." But sweet? Nope, not Karen. She had a problem with everything. Kids playing too loud. She'd yell at them. Leaves falling from trees onto her yard. She'd grumble and sweep them up like they'd insulted her. Even the wind blowing too hard made her mad. She'd shake her fist at the sky like it was being rude on purpose. That sunny Saturday morning, Karen was already in a grumpy mood. Maybe her toast burned, or maybe she just didn't like how bright the sun was. Who knows? But then she heard Max. Sweet little Max, Timmy's goofy dog, was chasing a squirrel in the backyard. His bushy tail was wagging, and his big, loud barks filled the air. Woof! Woof! He went, happy as can be. To most people, that's just normal dog stuff. Dogs bark, right? They chase things and make noise, it's what they do. But not to Karen. To her, those barks were like a siren blaring right in her ears. She couldn't stand it, not even for a second. So, what did she do? She didn't just sit there and huff. Nope. She grabbed her phone, threw on her flip-flops, and stormed out of her house like a tornado on a mission. Her spiky hair bounced as she marched across the street, her eyes locked on Timmy's backyard. She got to the tall wooden fence and stopped, her face all red and scrunched up like she'd just bitten a lemon. In her hand, she held her phone tight, ready to use it like a weapon. She was mad, really mad, and she wasn't going to let this go. Keep that mutt quiet, or I'm calling the police, she shouted. Her voice was so loud it made the birds stop chirping. She pointed her finger over the fence at Timmy, wagging it like she was the boss of the whole world. Max barked again, just once, like he was saying, "Who, me?" Timmy, though. He didn't even flinch. He was still sitting on the grass, the beat-up tennis ball in his hand. He looked up at Karen, his messy hair falling over his eyes, and just shrugged. "He's just a dog, lady," he said, super calm, like he didn't have a care in the world. Now, most people would stop there. They'd see a kid and a dog playing and think, okay, no big deal. But Karen? Oh no. She wasn't having it. Not even close. To her, Timmy's shrug was like a challenge. And Max's barking? That was a crime. She didn't care that it was a sunny Saturday, or that Max was just having fun. In her mind, that dog was a problem, and Timmy was being rude for not agreeing with her. So, she took a deep breath, puffed out her chest, and did something wild. She dialed 911. Yep, the emergency number right there in front of Timmy's fence. "I need help," she yelled into the phone, her voice so loud it bounced off the houses. "There's a dangerous animal here. It's barking like crazy, and this rude kid won't do anything about it. She waved her free hand around, pointing at Max like he was some kind of monster. Dangerous. Max. The little scruffy dog who tripped over his own paws chasing a squirrel? That was nuts. But Karen kept going, talking fast and loud, telling the person on the phone all about how awful this emergency was. You need to send someone now, she demanded, stomping her foot. Timmy just watched her. He didn't yell back. He didn't run inside or tell Max to hush. Nope. He stayed right where he was, sitting on the grass with his old sneakers stretched out in front of him. Max sat next to him, tilting his head like he was confused by all the shouting. But here's the weird part, Timmy didn't look scared. Not even a little. Most kids would freak out if a grumpy lady called the cops on them. They'd think, oh no, I'm in trouble, and start sweating or hiding. But Timmy? He was cool as a cucumber. A tiny smile even tugged at his lips, like he knew something Karen didn't. Why wasn't he worried? What was going on in that quiet kid's head? Well, here's a hint, Karen had no idea who she was messing with. She thought she was in charge, standing there with her phone, acting like the queen of the street. But she just made a big mistake. A huge one. She didn't know it yet, but she'd poked the wrong bear or, well, the wrong dog. Max wasn't just any pup, and Timmy wasn't just any kid. There was something special about them, something secret, and Karen was about to find out the hard way. Let's think about this for a second. Karen was loud and bossy, sure. She had her phone and her rules, and she thought that made her powerful. But Timmy? He was quiet. He didn't shout or fight back. He just sat there, watching her like he was waiting for something. That tiny smile on his face, it was a clue. A little hint that things weren't what they seemed. Karen was too busy yelling to notice, but if she'd looked closer, she might have wondered, why isn't this kid scared? Why does he look so calm? She didn't ask those questions, though. She was too mad, too sure she was right. The air felt thicker now, like something big was brewing. Max let out another bark, short and sharp, and Karen glared at him. See? That's what I mean, she snapped into the phone. It's out of control. Timmy scratched Max behind the ears, still not saying much. The sun kept shining, the grass stayed warm, but the mood. It was shifting. Trouble was coming, and it wasn't the kind Karen expected. She thought the police would show up and take her side. She thought she'd win, like she always did when she complained. But this time? Oh, this time was different. What was Timmy's secret? Why wasn't he running or arguing? And what was going to happen when the police got there? Karen had no clue, but she was about to learn something she'd never forget. She'd started this fight, but Timmy and Max were ready to finish it. The tension was building, like a balloon filling up with air, ready to pop. Something big was coming, and it was going to change everything. Stick around, because this story's about to get wild. Karen was on a roll now. She kept yelling into her phone, her voice bouncing off the houses like a big, angry echo. Yes, officer, it's an emergency, she shouted. This dog's a menace. It's barking like crazy. She paced back and forth in front of Timmy's fence, her flip-flops slapping the ground with every step. She looked like she was in a drama movie where she was the star, and everyone else was just there to listen to her. Her spiky hair bobbed as she moved, and her eyes were wide with anger. To her, Max wasn't just a goofy little dog chasing squirrels. Nope. He was a big, loud problem, and she was going to make sure the whole world knew it. Meanwhile, Timmy didn't stick around to watch her show. He grabbed Max's leash, a frayed old thing with a clip that barely worked, and gave it a little tug. Come on, buddy, he said quietly. Max wagged his tail and trotted after him, his floppy ear bouncing. They headed inside the house, disappearing through the back door. Timmy didn't seem worried. Not one bit. His face was calm, like he was just going in to grab a snack or something. Strange, right? Most kids would lose it if a grumpy lady like Karen called the cops on them. They'd be scared, maybe even crying, thinking, oh no, I'm in big trouble. But Timmy? He didn't look scared at all. He acted like, well, like he wanted this to happen. Weird, huh? What was he up to? Outside, Karen didn't notice Timmy leaving. She was too busy talking to the police on her phone. Hurry up, she snapped. This kid's rude, and that dog's out of control. She crossed her arms and tapped her foot, waiting for something to happen. She was sure she'd won already. In her mind, the police would show up, yell at Timmy, maybe even take Max away. She could almost see her standing there, smirking, while everyone learned to follow her rules. She muttered to herself, finally. They'll teach that brat a lesson. She was so sure of herself, like she'd just hit the jackpot in some big game. A few minutes passed. The sun kept shining, the birds started chirping again, and the street stayed quiet until it didn't. A police car rolled up, its tires crunching on the gravel. It wasn't loud, no sirens or lights flashing, just a slow, steady arrival. Karen's eyes lit up. She smirked, crossing her arms tighter, like she was about to get a gold star for being right. About time, she said under her breath. The car stopped right in front of Timmy's house, and the door swung open. Out stepped an officer. He was tall, with a serious face and shiny sunglasses that glinted in the sunlight. He didn't smile or wave, just stood there, looking around like he was sizing things up. Karen didn't waste a second. She marched over, ready to tell her whole story. Officer, she called, waving her hand. It's about time you got here. That dog's been barking all morning, and that kid's got no manners. She pointed at Timmy's house, her voice loud and bossy. The officer didn't say anything yet. He just started walking straight toward Timmy's front door. Karen followed close behind, her flip-flops slapping the ground again. She was ready to gloat, to watch Timmy get in trouble and prove she was the boss of the neighborhood. She could already imagine the look on his face, scared and sorry. Oh, she was going to love this. But then, something weird happened. The officer didn't knock on Timmy's door. He didn't bang his fist or shout, "Open up," like you see in cop shows. Nope. He just stopped on the porch and stood there, hands on his hips, waiting. Karen blinked, confused. What's he doing? She muttered. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She opened her mouth to say something, but before she could, the front door creaked open. And who walked out? Timmy. Cool as ever, with his messy hair and beat-up sneakers. He strolled onto the porch like he'd been expecting company all along. Max peeked out behind him, wagging his tail. Karen's jaw dropped. Huh, she said, her voice squeaky. This didn't make sense. Why wasn't the officer mad? Why wasn't Timmy hiding or begging for forgiveness? The officer tipped his hat a little, like he was saying hi to an old friend. Timmy nodded back, that tiny smile still on his face. What was going on? Karen's brain was spinning. She'd called the cops to get Timmy in trouble, but now it looked like they knew each other? How? Why? Hang tight, it's about to get good. Let's rewind a bit. While Karen was yelling and pacing, Timmy had gone inside for a reason. He wasn't scared of the police showing up. Nope. He'd been waiting for this moment. See, Timmy wasn't just a quiet kid with a loud dog. He had a secret, a big one, and it was starting to peek out, little by little. Karen thought she was in charge, but she didn't know the half of it. That officer standing there? He wasn't here because of her call. Oh no. There was more to the story, and it was about to unravel right in front of her. The air felt different now. Thicker, like something exciting was bubbling up. Karen stood there, arms still crossed, but her smirk was gone. She looked at the officer, then at Timmy, then back at the officer. Wait a minute, she said, her voice wobbling. Aren't you going to do something? That dog's a problem. The officer turned his head slowly, his sunglasses hiding his eyes. He didn't answer her yet. Instead, he looked at Timmy, like they were sharing some kind of silent secret. Max barked once, a short, happy woof. And Timmy patted his head. Karen's face turned redder. She didn't get it. She'd called 911. She'd told them it was an emergency. So why wasn't the officer grabbing Max or scolding Timmy? Why was Timmy so calm, like this was all part of some plan? Little hints were popping up now, like puzzle pieces falling into place. The way Timmy stood there, not worried. The way the officer waited for him, not her. Something big was hiding under all this, and Karen was too busy being mad to see it. What was Timmy's secret? Why did he act like he wanted the police to come? And why wasn't the officer listening to Karen? She thought she'd won, but the game was changing. The tension was growing, like a rubber band stretching tighter and tighter. Something was about to snap, and when it did, Karen wouldn't know what hit her. This wasn't just about a barking dog anymore. It was bigger. Way bigger. Stick with me, because the next part's going to blow your mind. The moment had arrived, the big, exciting moment where everything flipped upside down. The tall officer, with his shiny sunglasses and serious face, stood on Timmy's porch. He tipped his hat a little, like he was saying hi to a buddy. "Hey, kid," he said, his voice super casual, like they were old friends. Timmy nodded back, that tiny smile still on his face. Max wagged his tail, peeking out from behind Timmy's legs, his goofy ear flopping. It was all so calm, so normal, except it wasn't. Not to Karen. Karen's jaw dropped so fast it almost hit the ground. Her eyes went wide, and her mouth opened like a fish gasping for air. "Wait, what?" she sputtered, her voice all shaky and loud. She couldn't believe it. She waved her arms, her flip-flops squeaking on the porch steps. "Aren't you here to arrest him or take that dog away?" she demanded. She pointed at Max, her finger shaking like she was accusing him of some big crime. To her, this was all wrong. She'd called the cops. She'd told them about the barking. So why wasn't the officer mad at Timmy? Why wasn't he doing what she wanted? The officer turned to her slowly, one eyebrow raised behind his sunglasses. He didn't yell or snap. He just looked at her, calm and steady, like she was a kid throwing a tantrum. "Ma'am," he said, his voice low and clear, "I'm not here for that. I'm here because he called me first." He nodded toward Timmy, who just stood there, hands in his pockets, cool as ever. Cue the gasps. "Yep, you heard that right. Timmy had called the cops before Karen did." Her head spun around so fast it was like she'd seen a ghost. "What?" she squeaked again, her face turning red, then white, then red again. She didn't get it. How could this be? She'd dialed 911. She'd made the emergency call. But the officer's words hit her like a big splash of cold water. Timmy had beaten her to it. He'd picked up the phone way before she did. But why? Why would a kid call the police on himself? Unless he wasn't just some random kid. Here's the big reveal, the secret that changes everything. Timmy wasn't just the quiet kid with messy hair and old sneakers. Nope. His dad was the chief of police. That's right, the big boss of all the cops in town. Timmy wasn't scared of the police because they were on his side. His dad ran the show, and Timmy knew it. That's why he wasn't worried. That's why he smiled while Karen yelled. He had the upper hand all along, and she didn't even know it. But wait, there's more. Max wasn't just a goofy dog with a loud bark. Oh no. That scruffy little mutt had a secret too. He'd been trained to sniff out trouble. Not squirrel chasing trouble or barking at the wind trouble. Real trouble. The kind that sneaky people cause when they think no one's watching. Timmy and his dad had taught Max to spot things that didn't belong, like someone creeping around where they shouldn't be. And guess who'd been creeping? Karen. For weeks, Timmy had been watching her. He'd sit on his porch or peek out his window, quiet as a mouse, noticing everything. Karen thought she was sneaky, but she wasn't. She'd been snooping in people's yards, poking around trash cans, even peeking over fences when no one was home. Maybe she was looking for rule breakers to tattle on, or maybe she just liked being nosy. Either way, Timmy saw it all. He didn't say anything at first, just watched and waited. Then he told his dad. And his dad? The chief of police? He said, "Keep an eye on her, Timmy. Let me know what she does." So that's what Timmy did. He and Max became a team, like detectives in a mystery book. Max would bark at weird stuff like when Karen climbed over Mr. Johnson's gate one night, and Timmy would write it down. They'd been keeping track of her for weeks, building a list of all the sneaky things she did. And that morning, when Max barked at the squirrel, it was the perfect chance. Timmy knew Karen would flip out. He knew she'd call the cops. So he called first. He picked up the phone, dialed his dad's station, and said, "She's at it again. Can you send someone?" That's why the officer was there. Not because of Karen's call, but because of Timmy's. The whole time Karen was yelling about a dangerous animal, Timmy was setting her up. He knew she'd dig herself into a hole, and he was ready to watch it happen. Sneaky, right? But oh so smart. The officer pulled out a little notepad from his pocket and clicked his pen. He turned to Karen, his face still serious. "Wanna explain why you been trespassing, ma'am?" he asked. His voice wasn't mean, but it was firm, like he already knew the answer. Karen's face went white, like all the color drained out of it. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. I didn't she stammered, her words tripping over each other. She looked like a kid caught with her hand in the cookie jar, only way worse. Trespassing. That's when you go onto someone's property without permission, like sneaking into a yard that's not yours. And Karen had been doing it a lot. Timmy had seen her. Max had barked at her. And now the police knew too. She couldn't talk her way out of this one. Her phone slipped a little in her hand, and her flip-flop stopped squeaking. She was stuck, and she knew it. The jig was up, her sneaky days were over. Timmy just stood there, watching it all. That tiny smile grew a little bigger, but he didn't say a word. Max sat next to him, his tail thumping the porch like he was proud. The officer scribbled something in his notepad, waiting for Karen to answer. But she didn't have much to say. Her big plan to get Timmy in trouble had backfired big time. She thought she was the boss, but Timmy had outsmarted her. His dad being the police chief? Max being a trained sniffer? It was all too much for her to handle. Karen was quiet now. Really quiet. After all that yelling and stomping, she didn't have much left to say. The officer stood there, his sunglasses shiny in the sun, and wrote something on his little notepad. He didn't yell at her or anything, he just told her she was in trouble. Not big trouble, like going to jail, but enough to make her squirm. "You can't call 911 and make up emergencies," he said, his voice calm but serious. "And you can't sneak into people's yards either. That's not okay." He gave her a warning, a piece of paper that said she'd better stop or next time it'd be worse. Karen's face was still white, like she'd seen a ghost. She took the paper, her hands shaky, and didn't argue. She couldn't. The neighbors were watching now, peeking out their windows and whispering to each other. "What's happening?" they mumbled. "Did Karen get caught?" They saw her slink away, her head down, her flip-flops dragging on the ground. She walked back to her yellow house, slow and quiet, like a kid who'd been sent to their room. Max barked one last time, a short, happy woof. And it almost sounded like he was laughing at her. Timmy scratched Max's ears and grinned. "Good boy," he said softly. While Karen disappeared into her house, something cool was happening at Timmy's place. The other kids on the street couldn't stay away, they ran over, their eyes big and round. "Dude," one of them shouted, his voice all excited. "Your dad's the police chief." Another kid jumped up and down. "No way. That's so awesome." Timmy just nodded, super chill, like it was no big deal. "Yeah," he said, his messy hair flopping as he shrugged. "And Max? He's kinda like a deputy." The kids gasped and looked at Max, who wagged his tail like he knew he was a star. "A deputy dog," one girl squealed. "That's the coolest thing ever." From that day on, things changed. Nobody messed with Timmy anymore. Not the bigger kids who used to tease him, not the grown UPS who ignored him, nobody. They all knew he wasn't just some quiet kid with beat-up sneakers. He had a dad who ran the police, and a dog who could sniff out trouble. Max wasn't just a loud barker, he was a hero. The kids started calling him Deputy Max, and they'd cheer when he ran around the yard. Timmy didn't brag or act big about it. He just stayed the same, calm, quiet, and happy with his best buddy. And Karen? She was done causing trouble. She kept her curtains shut tight, like she didn't want anyone to see her. No more snooping, no more yelling, no more clipboard and rules. She stayed in her house, her nose out of everyone's business. The street felt lighter, happier, like a big cloud had moved away. Justice was served. Karen learned her lesson, and Timmy and Max came out on top. It was a win for the good guys, and the neighborhood would never forget it. So, what's the big lesson from all this? It's pretty cool when you think about it. Sometimes, the kid who looks small and quiet like Timmy with his messy hair and old sneakers has the biggest backup. He didn't seem like much, just a boy with a loud dog, but he had a secret that made him strong. His dad was the police chief, and Max was a smart little deputy. That shows you can't judge people by how they look. The ones who seem weak might have something awesome hiding inside them, ready to surprise you. And what about the ones who act all tough? Like Karen, stomping around, yelling, and thinking she's the boss. Well, they might just be barking up the wrong tree. That means they're picking a fight they can't win. Karen thought she could scare Timmy and get her way, but she was so wrong. She didn't know who she was messing with, and it came back to bite her. So, next time you see someone getting picked on, stop and think. Don't be quick to take sides because you never know who's really in charge. The quiet ones might have the power, and the loud ones might flop. This story makes you wonder, doesn't it? It's a reminder to be kind and not judge people too fast. Timmy didn't fight back with shouts or mean words. He just stayed calm and let the truth come out. That's pretty smart and pretty strong too. Maybe we can all be a little like Timmy, cool-headed, brave, and ready to stand up when it counts. You don't need to be loud to win, you just need to be smart and have good friends, like Max. What did you think of that crazy twist? Wasn't it wild when the officer said Timmy called first? Drop a comment and tell me what you liked best. Oh, and hey, if you've got a nosy neighbor story, I want to hear it. Maybe you've got a Karen of your own, or a sneaky dog who's secretly a hero. Spill it, I'm all ears. Stories like this show us that things aren't always what they seem, and that's what makes life fun. Keep watching, keep wondering, and never underestimate the quiet kid or his dog.